We're 5 weeks into the college football season. We have a little evidence where you can start kind of seeing where teams are and where they shake out in the Big Ten Conference. Now, this isn't going to be a comprehensive list. I'm going to list the top 8 teams and the bottom 3 as well. Some teams have played some big out-of-conference opponents and notched some big victories, others taking big L's in the non-cons. And some just haven't played anybody, so there's still a lot to learn. Maryland. We have 4 undefeated teams left in the Big Ten Conference. Obviously, Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana, and the aforementioned Maryland. We're going to find out where they shake out here in just a matter of moments. Let's start with the bottom 3. I mean, who would have thought, a lot of people, with UCLA joining the conference, they'd be at the bottom of the barrel. Especially with Deshaun Foster leading the program. I know he just got fired, and rightfully so. They are truthfully the worst team in the Big Ten and will be for the foreseeable future. Rutgers got clowned when they came in the conference, and they've gotten respectable under Schiano again. UCLA's got a long path ahead of them. They got the recruiting base there. They got to build up some things, though. They got a long ways to go. Wisconsin is next in the bottom 3. Luke Fickell seems like he's on his way out. He just can't figure things out in Madison. Injured quarterback every single year he's been there, and just things are not trending well in the right direction. He's got a Michigan team to face this weekend, and it's going to get pretty ugly in the big house. And then Purdue. The Boilermakers got a new coach. He's got them on the come up. They got a lot of transfers, but they still are missing a lot of talent on that roster. They got 2 wins already this season, and they're probably going to top out around 4. So without further ado, let's dive into the top 8 of my power rankings after 5 weeks. Bringing up the 8th spot, I know they're undefeated. The Terps, man, they always play a good September, but it always starts to crumble and crack in October, and they're dreadful come November. And so, yes, they are 4-0. They look decent. I wouldn't say they look impressive. With Maryland off to another hot start in September, we'll see how October goes for them. Keep winning, and you'll move up the power rankings, but you got to prove it on the field first. Washington Huskies, man, they came into the Buckeye game rocking 55.7 points per game and didn't live up to the hype offensively. They still have some amazing offensive playmakers. They just ran to the nation's #1 defense. They're sitting at 3-1 now, and they're 7th in my power rankings. Damon Williams and Jonah Coleman and Denzel Boston and crew, I think they will regroup to a fact. I think Jed Fish has them pointed in the right direction. However, the roster depth just isn't quite there to reach the upper echelon of the Big Ten by the end of the season. We'll see how things shake out. I'd say about 8 or 9 wins for the Huskies come season's end. Next up, and yes, this is a Buckeye channel, and maybe this is controversial to you Michigan faithful out there, but I do have the Wolverines checking in at 6 with a 3-1 record. I do have them blowing out Wisconsin this weekend. Bryce Underwood needs to improve his completion percentage. He is looking sharp and accurate in other areas. He has a powerful rocket arm attached to him, and he's using his legs more effectively. We'll see how Sherrone Moore coming back does. The next real test on the schedule is going to be versus USC the following weekend out in LA. A chance to move up for the Wolverines and notch their second Big Ten win this weekend. Nice win over the Huskers, though, by the way, too. Impressed with what I saw there. The Illini coming in at the 5 spot. They did get humbled in Bloomington a couple weekends ago, but they bounced back with a ranked win over the Trojans at home, protecting home turf, led for the majority of that contest, except for the very end, then had to kick a field goal to regain the lead. The Illini seem to lack explosiveness. They just don't have that offensive firepower in them. Altmaier is a good and talented quarterback. He just doesn't have many weapons. Defense does need to improve. I could see the Illini slipping in this ranking, but for now, since they're just coming off a ranked win, I kept them in my top 5. It was another hard weekend and hard pill to swallow for the Penn State faithful. They got their whiteout game, avoiding the big noon kickoff, but they still couldn't come through in the clutch. A late spurt in that fourth quarter took the game to overtime. There was potential for the win, but everybody watching the game knew Penn State was going to fall short. And yes, it was a double overtime loss, but I just can't rank the Nittany Lions any higher than 4th in the power rankings at this point. They're not going to get that big win and notch that big victory, and I just can't move them into the top 3. So that leaves us with the 3 other undefeated teams remaining in the Big Ten. Of course, the Indiana Hoosiers, the Ohio State Buckeyes, and the Oregon Ducks. So how do these stack up? Indiana getting a top 10 win in not just a win, in blowout fashion. This Hoosier offense is for real. Cignetti is proving last year was not a fluke. I do think Illinois was overranked at the time that they played, although going into it, I saw it being a lot closer than that. I did have the Hoosiers winning, and they did end up destroying them. Yeah, took their soul, took their life. Indiana, I think, does come in at the 3 spot for me. If they can back it up and go to Oregon and notch another top 10 victory, this time on the road, you might be looking at the number 1 team in the Big Ten Conference and the favorite. That's quite elite, but this Hoosier team, man, their offense is for real. Their defense is ferocious. They can run the rock and impose their will. I didn't see them being able to be so effective on the ground versus Illinois, and they just bulldoze their way, as well as passing over them with Fernando Mendoza. He's looking like another gem that Cignetti has grabbed from the portal. This Hoosier offense looks explosive, and I'm excited to see what the Hoosiers bring in the future and what they bring out in Austin next weekend. Now these top 2 teams, they're 1 and 2 in the country, man. You are really splitting hairs. You truly are. I can see cases for either team making the top spot in these power rankings. Ohio State with the big-time home win over the Texas Longhorns to start the season and the campaign off right. A nice win on the road versus a high-powered Washington offense. And so they've got 2 quality wins under their belt. The Oregon Ducks coming in that whiteout. Us Buckeye fans know how difficult and challenging it is to play in that environment. We usually come out victorious as well, but it is never, ever easy. And so hats off to Oregon Ducks for getting that victory. I truthfully can see arguments for either team taking the top spot. And you wouldn't really be wrong with where you're ranking your team. I think this just comes down to what style of football you prefer. I love a defensive style. Now, I love scoring points and explosive plays as well. The Oregon Ducks have that in droves. But I grew up on trestle ball, and so my preferred style of football is running it down people's throats and playing elite defense and having good special teams. Now, the Buckeyes do not have elite special teams. Not since Jim Tressel, in fact. Urban Meyer didn't really prioritize it, and Ryan Day seems not to prioritize that as well. So that's frustrating from this fan's perspective. But if I'm splitting hairs, I see the nation's number 1 defense again in Columbus. Statistically, just giving up 5.5 points per game at this point. It's unbelievable. It truly is remarkable to see. And if the Bucks and the Ducks meet in Indianapolis, that's certainly a scenario that could play out. We all expected it last year and didn't happen. But if that happens, what a showdown that will be. I think the Ducks do have the edge right now offensively. It seems like Day is leaning on the defense more and taking a more conservative approach, and that's okay. It just really comes down to who you prefer. I have Oregon at 2 and Ohio State at 1. Probably to nobody's surprise who's watching this video. But let's be honest, man. The Ducks are unbelievable. They are very good, super formidable. I cannot wait to watch them clash with Indiana next weekend. And I think if Oregon wins that matchup, I don't have a case for keeping Ohio State at 1. That's 2 top, probably 5 victories at that point. And so you got to move Oregon in that slot. But for now, the Buckeyes are hanging on by a slim margin to the number 1 spot in the Big Ten Power Rankings. So much subject to change, obviously. So many more matchups to come. Can't wait to see how this season unfolds. But for now, man, we're getting entertained. We're having a lot of fun enjoying college football. So that does it for this one. Go Bucks and God bless. We will see you on the next one.